We are fully live. There we go. I think we're live. You'd never know that true moment when you are live. Welcome, everybody. I am Sarah Olivieri, and I am super excited to be talking to you today about boards, right? So I want to know, do you want to break through your board's limitations? And today I'm going to talk about exactly how to do that. So let me know if you're here live, leave a comment, let me know, or if you're watching the replay, I'd love to know, where is your board right now? What is the general experience on your board? Whether the positive things you're seeing, the challenges you're seeing. And I will tell you, I see quite a few board limitations, let's call it. Here are some of the things that I see. Let me know if they resonate with you. So one of the board limitations that I see is they're unengaged, right? Board members are just not really, you feel like if you're the executive director or the chair, you might be feeling like our board isn't doing everything they should be doing. And I'm going to address that in just a moment. The next thing that I see is politics and drama, right? So whether or not you're not having the real conversation in the room, maybe there's those parking lot conversations or separate phone calls where board members express their real opinions, and then the boardroom, they're silent, or maybe there are cohorts of board members who are friends and they don't want to upset each other. And so there's just kind of like tension and drama. Maybe there's one board member who's trying to get power and like that, and nobody else really wants them to have that power, but nobody else wants power either. And so one person's kind of maybe running amok a bit. So that's the second thing, the kind of drama. And then the third thing is definitely like micromanaging or getting in the weeds. It's not always micromanaging, but it's getting in the weeds, kind of picking up on diving into details that supposedly boards shouldn't be diving into. So those are kind of the three categories that I see. With a little bit, some people feel like their boards are overworked. But I tend to hear under engaged more than overworked. But I really think that these are two sides of the same coin. And the coin is, we don't have the right expectations for our board compared to their capacity to do stuff for us. And so whether or not they're overworked or underengaged, it's really about having the right fit job description for your board. So there are a few things I think everybody needs to know about when it comes to boards. First is, we have a broken model. So the current job description that most boards are following in one way or another, if they've gone out and gotten a job description, is typically a version of the 10 responsibilities of a nonprofit board. And I go deep dive into this in a longer training, but the short version of the long history is, this history actually stems back over 300 years to when the merchant Puritans were coming over to what would become the United States. And they were actually trying to use their money to gain power and influence over culture, society, and government, which back in England, we're in this transition where we have the aristocracy, the monarchy, and the aristocracy. You basically have to be born in to all the money and all the power. The merchant class starts getting money, but that doesn't give them power like it does today. The money, and so they're trying to gain power through gaining opportunities for influence. Anyway, so we have this really, really ancient board job description that most people don't even realize is that ancient. Most people think it goes back to maybe like the 1990s, but it does go back way farther than that. Let me know if you'd like a little more info on that. Happy to share that with you. So we have this outdated job description. And so I'd say like 90% of what you are probably experiencing as challenges on your board is the result of having the wrong fit job description. A few other things that might be blind spots for you. You might have assembled a wrong fit board. You might have assembled people who just said yes because they liked you, or they didn't want to say no, or because they actually are looking for an inappropriate level of power and influence. Of course, they'd never call that, right? So you might have the wrong people on your board, and that could be causing challenges. And the third big blind spot for boards is actually executive directors or nonprofit CEOs, whatever that title is, not showing up as leaders to their board. Big shout out to Mary Hyland. We were just having this conversation the other day. We've both seen this where, because there's this dynamic where the board hires the CEO often, the CEO then acts as though the board is like their boss, is like the one who's supposed to lead them. But that is not true. The CEO needs to show up kind of as the primary leader at board meetings. Yes, we have a chair, and the chair is there to help wrangle board members and lead that group to take some of that burden off the CEO. But the CEO, the executive director, still needs to show up as a leader. They need to be able to share information. They need to be able to confidently present what's going on. They need to be able to confidently make decisions and inform the board of the decisions that have been made, and be able to provide confident, without being, you don't want to be like a, authoritarian, overarching leader. It's about just showing up, say, hey, we had these, and these problems. I made these decisions. These problems are now solved. 2 of them are still pending. We're trying something else. And that's what you need to know for now. And when I have more information, I'll gladly share it with you. Any questions or concerns? Yes? No? Okay, great. Let's move on to the next thing. That's how you show up confidently as a leader. If you're a CEO and you start asking your board what to do, they're going to really quickly get scared that you don't know what to do. And then they're going to grab the reins and they're going to start micromanaging or getting into the weeds. So often those problems of boards micromanaging, partly from the job description, but a lot of it is from the CEO, the executive director, not showing up as a leader. So, 2 big strategies that we can do to overcome these challenges are simple and maybe scary. One is what we were just talking about. That nonprofit executive director needs to show up as a leader in every board interaction. They need to be confident, they need to be clear, and they need to always be doing what's best for the organization. That's like how we make decisions as executive directors. What's best for the organization? We figure that out, and then we do it. And the second thing is giving your board an updated job description, not one that was originally designed to give wealthy merchant Puritans influence and power using their money, but one, in fact, that is designed to make an impact. I teach that full job description in the board's masterclass that is now available on Evergreen. I'll put the link for you in the chat. We also teach it in the Impact Retreat for boards, which is a full live 1-day board retreat for boards. It's done virtually. And that's how, often the masterclass is great to give people the idea about what's going on. But for those folks who are like, how do I get my board to actually transition to this new job description? We do that together in the 1-day Impact Retreat. Our next Impact Retreat is coming up in March, and enrollment is open at the time I'm recording this right now, but spots are very limited. Like there's 1 or 2 spots left. So if you're like, yes, I want to transform my board. Yes, I want the whole new job description. I want to get Sarah like doing everything, getting them transformed. Then you definitely want to consider that. I will give you a few high-level tips And I'll tell you a little story. So one of the things that we do in this new job description is we eliminate a lot of the old responsibilities. So part of those board members who are not well engaged is because they've been given so much responsibility, they don't really have the capacity to be responsible for those things. So we remove some responsibilities from their plate. And what happens as a result is they actually become more engaged. So let me tell you the story of an organization, Student Television Network. One of the things they eliminated was the board approving the budget. That's right. The board stopped approving the budget. The executive director still presented the budget and presents the financials, and the board still reviews stuff, but they're not there to put a stamp of approval. A stamp of approval or denial is a decision. So they're not deciding and they are not approving the budget. What happened was, before, when they were approving the budget, the board was not really engaged with what the budget meant, how it connected to the strategy, why what they were spending was important, why they were spending in one area and not another, how it was connected to generating revenue. They were just totally disengaged. They were just focused on that bottom line, right? Is it red? Is it red? Are we overspending is the thing they're asking, which is not a really useful question. And then the executive director, Sherry, had to spend all of this time crafting a budget, not the budget that she really thought was best for the organization, but the budget that she thought the board would approve. That was like a compromise between what was best for the organization and what she could convince her board members to do. So skip forward, they stop approving the budget. Now, Sherry, the executive director, gets to design the budget with her team. She doesn't work in isolation. That was really going to achieve the organization's goal and really going to be financially sustainable in the long run. And then she presents her budget to the board, and the board, all of a sudden, because they don't have to vote on it, is asking all these engaging questions. How does this connect to our strategic plan? How is this going to help us grow, the people that we're trying to serve? How is this going to help us, right? They were so engaged with all of the important questions around spending money. So here we take a responsibility, a decision off their plate, and all of a sudden we get this engagement with the numbers, which is oftentimes one of the hardest things to get boards engaged on. So I hope these tips have inspired you. And one thing I love about getting boards engaged is when they start asking questions, when they start taking on this role of looking at what's going on, understanding how things are working, being able to ask really great questions, but not so much being in this deciding role, boards become engaged and they're not overworked and they stay in their lane because the lane is not confusing. In our old board job description, we have this very confusing thing where we tell boards, you decide the big thing, like the strategy or the vision or the budget, but you don't decide the small things. But in reality, where's the line between the big decisions and the small decisions? There is no clear line. And so it's really blurry, especially for top leadership, executive directors, the chief financial officer, whatever kind of C-suite folks you have. It's really fuzzy in there. So what I tell boards instead in this new job description is, apart from hiring the executive director or making a decision around that, and apart from making a decision where you're going to pull the emergency brake, essentially stop something from happening that's like really, really bad, you're not going to make any decisions. And that's really clear, right? Staff, CEO, C-suite, other leadership staff, they're going to make decisions. Boards members, as a group, not going to make any decisions. So now we have this clear litmus test is, unless the decision is about replacing the CEO or the executive director, depending on what title you like to use, unless that decision is on the plate, or on the table, or a decision about, you just found out something like illegal is happening and it's not being attended to and you need to stop it. If it's not one of those two decisions, board is not going to decide, period. Now we have a really, really clear delineation between what the staff is going to do and what the board is going to do. So that's what I have for you today. For those of you just tuning in who don't know me, I'm Sarah Olivieri. I love helping nonprofits run better. I have over 2 decades of experience working in and for and with nonprofits. I'm a #1 international best-selling author and, all sorts of good stuff. I love presenting. I love do trainings. And I especially love working with my thrivers in my Thrive coaching program for nonprofit executive directors. When I'm not here with you, I'm enjoying hanging out with my 10-year-old son. And when it's the right season, I'm a sailboat racer. These days, I recently retook up skiing after 26 years of not skiing at all. And I love to get outside for a good walk or cook some healthy food. So thank you for joining me here today. And I will see you next time. If you want like a summary, the tips from these live trainings in your email box, go to pivotground.com/sign up. And you will get such summaries along with other updates from me. See you all.